Good evening and welcome to the March 15th Council meeting. If you'd please stand, Mayor Pro Tem Lucio will lead us in the flag salute.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our first proclamation this evening is National Arbor Day, which is April 1st. I would like to call up Steve Lewis, president of the Chino Youth Museum, and David McAbee, Public Works Services Manager with the City of Chino. And the proclamation reads, whereas in 1872, the first Arbor Day in the United States was held with over 1 million trees planted in Nebraska. The National Arbor Day Foundation celebrates Arbor Day in April, and the City of Chino has been recognized for over 25 years as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation. Trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business areas, and beautify our community. Trees can reduce wind and water erosion, cut heating and cooling costs, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, and fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Through the cooperation of the residents of the City of Chino and community groups, the benefits of planting trees and proper conservation practices will be long enjoyed by the citizens of Chino. Now, therefore, I, Eunice Emuloa, Mayor of the City of Chino, do here proclaim April 1st, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Chino and encourage each citizen to observe this day by planting one or more trees and by participating in the First Friday activities at the Chino Youth Museum courtyard to learn more about the importance of Arbor Day. Steve?
All right. Thank you very much. Yes, we are having an event at the Youth Museum. We want to invite everybody. It's at the First Friday, April 1st from 3 to 5. We'll be celebrating there with this year's performer, the Dream Shapers, with Ken Frowley, who will be entertaining guests with an exciting show of interactive live theater. And also the kids can learn about planting trees and caring for the environment. So if you need any more information, it's free. Come to the museum and we can help you out.
Tell people where the Youth Museum is.
Youth Museum on 6th and D Street, old bank building right across the street here from City Hall.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you for recognizing the contributions that trees make to the overall quality of life within our community. Our city has over 30,000 trees within our public right-of-way, which includes our parks, parkways, and medians. Public works staff, along with contracted staff, work to maintain these trees on a daily basis. However, we really want to encourage our residents to reach out to us if they see a tree that may be of concern. Please contact us at Public Works, and we'll happily send someone to check it out. You can reach us at 909-334-3266 or on our website at cityofchino.org and click on Report a Concern. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We had a good Arbor Day event Saturday, and many volunteers from Our Lady of Guadalupe were there, and they planted 62 trees in Ayala Park. So that was great. Thank you very much. Oh, God, it's always pictures. Forget pictures. Okay, next, we're going to recognize Chino High School wrestling team and coach Alex Angulo. I would like to call up Coach Alex to join me and introduce the Chino High wrestling team. Coach? Have them come in. Yep. They're all outside.
Thank you. How you doing? Good. Okay. Yes, this year we'd really like to thank the City of Chino for recognizing our wrestlers here. We had the most successful year we've had in quite a while. We had 10 CIF placers this year, including 2 finalists and 1 champion. 9 of the 10 are here. One of them, unfortunately, he's a working man, so he couldn't make it tonight. but immensely proud with these kids. They work really hard. Within this group, we have a number of students that are still, competing. 3 of them just placed first for a regional qualifier, and now, we're on to, trying to get them ready for nationals. We have a unique group because we have both the boys and the girls training, but immensely proud, and thank you guys all for recognizing them. Yes, first one is Roman Damas. There you go. Michelle Fierro. Jordan Malo. Rose Ortiz. Lena Rodriguez. Aaliyah Samano. Julia Soria. Michael Vasale. And Kayla Valenzuela. Dylan Moreno was also one of our placers. He actually works right here at Troy's Burger. That's where you'll find him there tonight. But he couldn't make it tonight. So there you go. And I'll be giving this to him later. Okay. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to all of you. We're very, very proud of you, and it's really important that our community know how active our young people are and that you're involved in really good things. Councilman Lucio actually has a son that wrestles, and he's the one that informed us about your great accomplishments. Mark, would you like to say a word?
Yes. So I just want to piggyback off what the coach said. If a lot of you aren't familiar with wrestling, California is probably one of the most competitive because at the end, if you have one state champion, he's actually the state champion that represents the whole state because somehow or another he eliminated somebody that eliminated somebody to get him to that point. So these wrestlers, they wrestled in league, placed at league, and from league they were able to advance over to CIF. From CIF, they then have to win it or place at CIF to be able to get to Masters. And then obviously from Masters to place in Masters, then you go off to state. So their accomplishments making it all the way to Masters is a big accomplishment in itself. I will say my hat's off to a state qualifier as well. That's even more rare because they only take 9 from each one of the Masters to go over to qualify over at state. So it's a big accomplishment. Congratulations. But one of the things I will say about Coach Angulo is he's starting some of these kids are beginning wrestlers. They go off and they face people that have been wrestling their whole lives. So it's important to recognize the fact that he's building a program from almost nothing. I would love to be able to somehow get a youth program started for him. I know at one time we had Chino Smash that practiced out of Chino High School, but then they got hijacked over to Ayala Smash. So eventually I'd love to get Chino Smash here again with the help. Yeah, I mean, and they train here in Chino, which is also disrespectful, I guess. But obviously, you're doing great things, Coach. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing the rest of your wrestlers, especially in the coming years, continue on, move forward, and place higher and higher every year. Congratulations, you guys. My hat's off to you. You guys made some great accomplishments, and if anybody knows, wrestling is probably one of the toughest sports that anybody can compete in. So, great job. And this is why I call him fun size. He's big enough to roll with the kids. That's all I have. Thank you guys, and congratulations.
Congratulations to all of you.
Short ones in the front,
Short ones in the front.
You know the deal.
Kind of not fair, huh?
I know. I'm usually in the front too with the boys.
Congratulations. It's great to see kids do good things. Okay, next we have another very special presentation. I'd like to call up Chief Dave Williams from our fire department. He's going to introduce the newest hires.
Thank you, Mayor. We are very, very honored to be here tonight, and we're very, very blessed to be the City of Chino's Fire District. So with that being said, these folks are in the initial stages of their training, so I'm going to allow the Deputy Chief of Training to do the honors.
Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jeremy Alt. As the Chief mentioned, I'm the Deputy Chief. I'm honored to serve in that capacity for training. We are blessed because as an organization, not only do we have the support of this community, we also are at a place where we can attract excellence and maintain excellence to serve you. So we have a unique opportunity where the 6 firefighters that stand before you tonight, they're all what are called lateral recruits. They all came from and brought their experience from another department before they came to us. So the last time we hired an entire lateral group was actually when I was hired back in 20 some odd years ago in 2000. So it's a unique opportunity that we have a 100% lateral recruit group. So I just want to acknowledge that we think it's very special that we're able to attract and retain the level of folks that can serve you with excellence. So with that, I'd like to introduce, first I have Chris Mcgovern. Chris comes to us, actually he worked for CAL FIRE in the Riverside County unit for a number of years. Jordan Cope came to us from Victorville Fire. Josh Samuels came from CAL FIRE Riverside as well. Ethan Droz actually came from Apple Valley, but he's homegrown. He started with us as a fire explorer. Roger Luna from CAL FIRE Riverside as well, and Greg Griffiths actually came down from Sacramento, what's called Sac Metro Fire Department. So they're in the middle of what we have a recruit orientation. You notice they have something missing from their chest, kind of glaring missing over there. As kind of our rite of passage, we will be commissioning them later and sending them out. In 2 weeks, they'll actually start working in the field, and they'll be presented their badges prior to that as a commissioning. So thank you so much for this opportunity to introduce our new employees to you.
Well, gentlemen, welcome aboard, and I think you're going to absolutely love serving in this area. You obviously know how special it is. We have a very unique relationship, our police department with the fire department, and I think you're just going to absolutely love it. Very, very close, a very close brotherhood. Welcome home. Thank you. Oops, another picture. Always a picture. No, it's okay. We got to move over or something. Thanks for bringing it. Okay, now we have more new people to introduce. I would like to bring up Chief Wes Simmons, who's going to introduce our police department promotions.
Thank you very much, Mayor and members of the council. So here are 3 of our latest promotions at the police department. I'll start with Sergeant Toby Ravelis. Toby came to us by way of San Bernardino Police Department in 2013, worked as an investigator in our SET and our criminal investigations unit, as well as promoting to corporal, and then most recently in January, promoting to sergeant. We got Corporal David Hargrove. David Hargrove started with us in 2014, came to us from the Los Angeles Police Department, and was promoted in December of this year to corporal. And then Brenda Ortiz. Brenda is homegrown. She started in 2007 as a police cadet, promoted to PSD2 and then PSD1, and then most recently to Public Safety Dispatch Supervisor. So very, very proud of all 3 of them. They've done a fantastic job and will continue to serve this community.
Well, thank you for being here. Congratulations on your promotions. Notice how people stay with us. Note how people stay. You guys can stay a long time, which is really good. It benefits our community because you really get to know the people that you're working for. So thank you for bringing them tonight, Wes.
Absolutely. People come here and they don't leave here.
They stay.
That's right.
Or they come back.
They do come back.
Thank you. Okay, we did have part of our closed session before the meeting actually started. Fred?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and those in attendance. The City Council has commenced its discussion of the closed session items, but will need to recess back into closed session following the open session. So it would be appropriate to withhold the report out of closed session until that time.
Okay. Mr. Ballantyne, do we have any agenda changes? or
Mayor, I have no
additions?
changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is public announcements. First, I would like to give one last reminder that on Saturday, March 19th, the city will be holding its annual Cultural Palooza event on the front lawn of City Hall from 4 to 9 p.m. Join us as we celebrate Chino's rich and various cultures with an evening of entertainment, great food, and shopping. For more information, please call our Community Services Department at 909-334-3258. Also, the city will be holding another installment of its Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off program on Saturday, March 26th at the City of Chino Public Works Services Yard, located at 5050 Schaefer Avenue from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. This event is for Chino residents and provides our community the chance to safely dispose of products containing chemicals, including but not limited to electronic waste, household-generated motor oil and oil filters, antifreeze and gasoline, auto and household batteries, tires on and off the rim. For any questions, please call 909-334-3472. And lastly, we will sadly be adjourning tonight's meeting in memory of former Upland City Council member Tom Thomas, who passed away on February 26th after a collision with a motorcycle while he was riding on a bicycle. Tom will always be remembered as a great leader for the city of Upland, who took pride in making Upland a great place to work and live. Tom served on the Upland Library Board, Upland Community Foundation, Upland Police Foundation, and the Upland Sister City Association. He helped raise funds for the Grove Theater, Carnegie Library, assisted in development of the Upland Skate Park and the Pacific Electric Bike and Pedestrian Trail. For the past 2 decades, he served on the West End Consolidated Water Company Board, as well as the San Antonio Water Board as board president. Tom is survived by his wife, Ann, and family, and on behalf of the City Council, we would like to extend our prayers to the family during this very difficult time. I had the privilege of working with Tom on several water issues, and he was a wonderful, wonderful, compassionate man. Okay, next on the agenda is public comments. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the council on items that do not appear elsewhere. Due to council policy and Brown Act requirements, we can't take action on items that are not agendized, but we can certainly hear your concerns. Our first written request to speak this evening is Mr. Michael Tafoya from the Living Word Assembly Church. He's going to lead us in prayer, so I would invite anyone who would like to join us to please stand.
Let's pray. Father, I pray tonight for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, for the police department and fire department, and in particular for this assembled council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our community, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. I pray for the agenda set before them. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live in this beloved city of Chino. It's in Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Michael. Next, we have Melissa Campani from Supervisor Kurt Hagman's office.
Well, good evening, Mayor Yoloa, Mayor Pro Tem Lucio, council members, staff, and of course our community members. We have a very exciting event coming up Saturday morning. Supervisor Kurt Hagman invites constituents to have coffee with Kurt. And it's very nice that the event will be taking place right here in Chino at the police department in the community room. The address is 5450 Guardian Way. Once again, that's March 19th, which is Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And the request is if you would like to come, and we'd love to have you, please RSVP to supervisorhagman.eventbrite.com. There's no charge for tickets. It just gives us an idea of how many people are going to come for that coffee everyone's going to want to have at 9 a.m. So we hope to see you there. And I also have another message from Supervisor Hagman. He wanted to thank the City of Chino very much for last Saturday's event, the Arbor Day event. It was apparently a very nice event. He learned a lot about planting trees, and I think that we learned that he can plant a tree awfully fast. So he learned a lot and went ahead and planted his tree in quick time. And he did ask me to bring this certificate for the City of Chino in honor of celebrating Arbor Day and receiving Amplify Urban Forest grant that provided for 61 trees to be planted in the City of Chino. So it was very nice, and Arbor Day certainly is very special, and we thank Chino for doing that.
Well, thank you very much, Melissa. Okay, next, Carolyn Doheny. Doheny?
Hi, I'm Carolyn Doherty, and I'm a resident on 7th Street. And I'm here to speak about the attractive nuisance of Isaiah's Rock. It's become a problem because the house has become a flop house, basically. She passes out blankets and mats for them to sleep. And before the last city council's meeting, I noticed they had like 5 pup tents in that parking lot next to her house, or right next to it. It's a concern to me because I had the police out last week because there was a prowler in my side yard. I have wine bottles, beer cans, and I can't empty the trash in my back alley. I have to have somebody come over and do that for me. So my concern is the future, because I read that you were looking for homeless residents. And that I don't want on 7th Street, because things can only get worse in our neighborhood. I think Isaiah's Rock should be in a commercial district rather than a residential district, because it's incompatible. And it's unsanitary because they don't have restrooms. So of course they take their dumps in the alleys behind my house and every other house down the alley. So that's basically what I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Carolyn. Next written request to speak is Judy Gardner.
Good evening, councilmen, women. I have a concern with my mother, who lives on 7th Street, and I'm over there weekly. I have seen men urinating in the lot right by her house. She's by herself. We've had the police over monthly for that. The Isaiah's Rock, I know there's a need, but it doesn't need to be on a residential area, I don't think. We had spoken to at the police meeting that we had for the neighborhood watch, and I believe I spoke to Chris Flores about that. He had told us we would get cameras and everything, do whatever we can to help my mom at her home. She's 78 years old, by herself. And we would get that all taken care of, and I felt a little more comfortable with that. But then that never happened. There was never any cameras there. There was never any cameras in the lot where people, right by her house, where people park there and live in their cars, right by her house. That is a concern of mine. She's my mother, and I love her to death. And if anything were to happen to her when I was at her house last week, and someone decided to sleep in her side yard right there against her bedroom. And we had the police over and all of that, but nobody seems to care about that. They want to take care of the homeless, and God bless them. I believe they do need help, but my concern is my mother. I'm feeling that they need protection, And Mr. Flores, no disrespect, but I believe there's a little bit of a conflict of interest if you're renting the house from the people who own Isaiah's Rock. I have a concern with that. I understand that maybe you want to help the homeless, but I need my mom helped. I need the people who live on the 7th Street to not worry, to not have a homeless guy sleeping on her truck. You know what I mean? This is beyond my concern, my thinking that this is okay. This isn't okay. There's got to be a way that we can help the homeless without infringing on the people who have bought homes there, their concerns of health. She doesn't even go out to feed her cats anymore because she's afraid. She's a senior citizen. She used to go to the senior citizens' home and all of that to play cards and that kind of thing. They don't do that anymore. If you take a look, that's not going on anymore. Why? People are coming and going, and there's too many people around that are strangers that can go there and eat. And what is her name? Mrs. King. Mrs. King, who has the Isaiah's Rock, she told us she will let the people who are high and on drugs to come and eat. But since they're high, they have to leave after they eat. Where are they going? You know, some of them are right in front of her house, living in their cars. We need to help those people, and we need to help the people that live on that street, bought that property, are losing value on their property because it's turning into the 4 homes that she owns are turning into flop houses, excuse me. And I think there's a better way to do this. I want you all to know, and I hope you can help me with this. But I want you to look at my face, and I want you to know that if something happens down the road with a member on 7th Street or my mother, somebody breaking in, because they were at her back door last week. There's an incident report, I'm sure. I want you to know this face. If anything happens to her, you've been forewarned. These people need help, but they don't need help where my mother is living or other people are living in a nice community. When we bought the home, it was perfect, it was nice, we could walk the streets and all that. It's not like that anymore. 10 years later, I'm sorry to say, it's a nightmare. I have family members who have been addicts, and we have done the best we can to help them. But we did it, and we didn't do it on infringing on other people's properties.
Judy, I hate to interrupt
Thank you.
but you are out of time. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming. Next written request to speak, Mr. Dean Kerr.
Chino Council. I run the building, Chino Chiropractic Office, and have since 1974. In 1974, as my predecessor here at the podium said, it was a wonderful place to be. 7th Street was one of the prime areas. It had everything you want in a professional office. Good access, Riverside Drive and Central. And it was not burdened down by all the traffic that's associated with being on a main street. So it was an ideal place for that. And for many, many years, it was a highly successful practice. However, with the advent of Isaiah's Rock, polling started happening outside my office. That means that people were standing out there asking my patients, are you going to the chiropractic office or not? And these were employees or volunteers to Isaiah's Rock. By the way, that's illegal federally. I told them not to do it, and one of the young ladies did quit, and she also quit Isaiah's Rock altogether. But I see most of my patients are geriatrics. What they don't want to do is to fight a bunch of homeless people on the way to my door. Not less than 6 months ago, I came to work, and one patient came in and said, "Hey, I couldn't get in the door today." I said, "Why?" He says, "You got a person out there laying across your doorway." I went out there, and sure enough, he was there. He had his sleeping bag, his bags, his coffee, almost everything you could imagine. And I told him, I said, "Get out of here." He went, with protest, of course, and that was just one episode. I can think of 4 or 5 other episodes exactly like that on my front porch during business hours. This is a crappy place to be. As a result, most of my patients, a lot of them, have just stopped coming in. I assume they've acquired a different chiropractor somewhere. In checking some of the records that we had before Isaiah's Rock and after, it figures that I'm losing about, $82,000 a year. This is not progress, this is devolution. We're not going forward there, we're going backwards. And this will always happen. It is a psychological fact that the lower grade on the pole don't go up. If you try to help them out, they simply get lower. Because what's the incentive to repair themselves? None. And so I'm suffering, my patients have suffered. And this is just inconceivable. I think, too, we should establish a complaint area to where all of this does not have to go through the mayor's office. That was a mistake. I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you
I've
very
paid
much
the
for being
price,
here.
and I'm still paying the price. Thank you.
Those are the only written requests that I have to speak. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda? If so, come on up.
Hi, I'm speaking. My name is Rhonda Matavia. I'm speaking on the same topic. the other
Rhonda?
People spoke about. I wrote my what I wanted to say. My name is Rhonda Matavia, and I have lived 42 of my 47 years in Chino. I currently reside in the apartments above Chino Florist. The property has been in my family since I was born. I used to play at my Aunt Willie's house on 7th Street and run back and forth from her house and my cousin's house to the flower shop. It was always a safe and warm place, all my memories growing up. I moved out of Chino from 2014 to 2019 and have been completely saddened by what has become of the city since I returned, especially on Central Avenue and mostly on 7th Street. People sleeping on cement parking lots, porches of houses, living in their vehicles, people walking around with suitcases, showering behind the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Numerous times I've found a man back there naked. I've stepped in human feces at least twice. And I see it constantly in the alleys and also where I park my car in front of the flower shop. There was a time that a gentleman was acting as if he was having sex up against the fence in the flower shop. There was nobody there, and it was going on for at least an hour, and I finally did call the police department on that. When I'm out walking my dog, because I do have a little dog that I have to walk because I don't have a yard, I'm terrified. I don't make eye contact with anybody. I love people. I like to socialize. I like to, when I'm hiking, say hi to people, but I can't do that here. I walk with my head down, but very aware of my surroundings. I am thankful that my kids are grown, because if my kids were young, I would not live where I live today. It's no place for a kid to walk. I would never send my kid out to ride their bike or do anything out there anymore. It is not an appropriate place for a mock homeless shelter. It's unacceptable and doesn't take into consideration the people who live here. It is apparent the country is in a mental health crisis. Chino isn't alone. My heart is not hardened to people suffering. I worked in substance abuse and mental health for about 5 years. My father was a paranoid schizophrenic and dealt with bouts of homelessness himself. But at that time, you know, there were mental institutions and different options, not like what's happening today. And it's time our leaders in government start addressing it before someone gets hurt, which someone will get hurt. Amen. And it starts locally with you. I believe you guys are responsible. Congratulations on your position. I spoke with you. You probably don't remember when you were running. I used to be proud to live in Chino. Like, I used to brag about it, and people didn't understand, like, the cows, it smells, whatever. I always loved Chino. I don't feel that way about Chino today. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Okay, then, yes.
Mayor and council, city manager. One, I believe the camera was put up the day of the last council meeting or the day before the council meeting. I'm not sure, but I think the police could tell them that it's been up all the time. I've lived in the house 30 years also, and some of the things that they're saying I've never seen, and I wouldn't allow it in my house. And I want to solve this problem. I have talked to the few people that do come to the house, asked them not to go down there. I know they haven't. I know that one of the young boys has been off drugs now for 9 days. Julie, one of the girls that they were talking about ringing doorbells, has been placed in a facility, and we're working on it, but they're not, I mean, they're not people like they're describing. I also live in Chino, and I have a back door that's not been locked for 30 years. A homeless guy comes in and makes coffee. My house is clean. They're all invited to come for coffee. They're invited to come and see. I would think that some of the people that they're talking about are really decent human beings, and it's exaggerated a whole lot. So, and the doctor, that's another story. So, I apologize to everybody, to my city, to my friends, to the mayor and the council, that this is even going on, and I'll do what I can to stop it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda? Yes. Well, you've already been up. There's a lady next to you. Well, there's someone else that would like to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I would just like to respond.
Name, please?
I'm sorry?
Give us your name, please.
Oh, my name is Ellen, and I volunteer at Isaiah's Rock, and I would just like to respond to a comment that was made that there are 4 houses that are flop houses on 7th Street, and I believe that many members of Chino, many police officers, and people who work in the community have walked through Charlene's home, which is also a church and a food ministry, and the doors open all the time. People are always invited in, and I believe that they would see that there's always activity going on that's positive for the community, that Isaiah's Rock participates in many civic clubs and donates to many like school events, that there's always food being packed for like children in emergency situations in the school district, and that there are a lot of people who were previously homeless and displaced, and now actually they're serving the community at Isaiah's Rock and working hard all day. There's many people like that, and there's one person who's someone said that there's people living in their cars all down the street. There's actually just one woman who is waiting for senior housing, and she's been on a list for about 2 years, and thank God that we're able to help her because she's elderly also, and she is afraid sleeping in her car, but I think she's very brave and she serves the community at Isaiah's Rock. So I just would like to inform the community about that. Thank you.
I think at this time I'm going to ask our attorney to please inform the public of, information.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council and those in attendance. Obviously, this is a very sensitive situation. There's a need to balance the needs of some of the homeless and as well as the community. And I can assure those in attendance and those that have approached the city staff and the city council that the council and staff are listening to all of the concerns of the community. They're beyond the efforts that the police department engages in to maintain control. There is a directive to provide additional plans and implement measures so that the quality of life issues that are being complained about will be addressed. So I could assure the community that the city is responding to the concerns that were addressed by the various residents, and there'll be an effort to both work with the property owner to establish measures to address these concerns and avoid these conflicts. So unfortunately, this takes a little bit of time, but the city is aware of it and will be addressing it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We hear your concerns and your complaints. We also hear the compassion and know the good that Isaiah's Rock does do. There has to be room for both. There has to be safety in homes. People have to be able to feel safe in their own property, be able to walk a dog without being afraid when, looking at people in the face. We do live in a rather precarious time. We all know that, regardless of where we are. We know that the homeless issue is growing all across the United States. We're very fortunate that we don't have the extreme problems that some of the coastal communities have, and we've all heard about that. Hundreds and hundreds of people lining tents along the streets where people can't even walk down a sidewalk. We do have a homeless issue here. We can't deny it because it is here. We are going to try to work out something so that 7th Street residents feel safe in your community. But we also know that there is a need for what Charlene and Isaiah's Rock does. They do provide food for people who are less fortunate. They do provide an incredible amount of help to the school district and the homeless kids there and the families. They have been able to find shelter, homes for people. They've gotten people jobs before. They have helped a lot of unfortunate people. I think what's happening now is kind of accumulation of what's happening in our society. I mean, we have many, many people with mental and drug problems. And because of law changes, some of that's out of our hands. As you know, even criminals get arrested, put in jail, and they're let out immediately. I know it drives our police department crazy. It doesn't stop them from making the arrests and booking them, but it's very discouraging for them to sometimes arrest the same person 3 times in one day because they're not being held because of state laws. But I can't give you details right now because this is a borderline legal issue and confidential. But the city has taken your complaints and your concerns very serious, and we are working on it. But we're also trying to do this with compassion and ensure that the good that is done by Isaiah's Rock is able to continue. It may not continue on 7th Street. There may be other arrangements. We don't know what's going to happen right now. There will be changes, and we can assure you that you will feel safe in your homes again. But like our attorney said also, these things don't happen overnight. So if you have something new to say, please come on up, but we have heard your complaints.
Thank you for hearing me. I'll make this as quick as possible. My concern is there has been dishonesty. There has been dishonesty about there not being problems within the street or have no knowledge of any problems within the street when we know there's been over 100 calls to the police for this, for issues on the street. There is no bathrooms. Where are they going to go? They have nowhere. I have compassion for that. I work for the district attorney's office as a victim's advocate for violent crimes. So don't get me wrong on this. But it does affect me when I have family members and friends that live on this street that are calling each other to check for their safety and say, hey, there's someone in the alley over in the trash right now, so just make sure your back door is locked. Yeah. I can only do so much for my mother and other people, but this has to be handled. It can't be, we'll let you know later, we'll let you know later in another month and a month and a month, because eventually, forgive me, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but if I have to worry about her more and worry about the people and the dangers that are involved, people sleeping in our trash cans, then we will have to do something. We want it handled from here, but if we have to go to the news, the district attorney's office, whatever we need to do, I'm going to get it done because I can't have it anymore. I have compassion, but she's going to come first. So, please, please figure a way and let us know what we need to do. Thank you so much.
I appreciate your concern. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on any other issue that's not on the agenda? Okay, then we will move on to our consent calendar. Do any council members wish to have any items pulled? Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion, please. It's a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio, second from Councilperson Comstock. Consent calendar passes unanimously. Next is a new business, SCA QMD budget appropriation to project WA19C. This item is to appropriate $750,000 from the South Coast Air Quality Management District Subvention Fund to project WA19C to fund construction of the Brine disposal pipeline. Staff report this evening will be provided by our project coordinator, Jocelyn Blakely.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is to request $750,000 from the unappropriated reserves of the South Coast Air Quality Management District Trust Fund to be appropriated into project WA19C, which is the Eastside Water Treatment Facility Expansion and Brine Line project. Since the project meets the Subvention Fund's goal of reducing emissions from mobile sources by replacing the use of tanker trucks with the installation of the pipeline for direct disposal of brine waste from the site or discharge from the site, the funds are able to be used for that. Tonight's recommendation is to appropriate the $750,000 from the unappropriated reserves and increase the project budget for WA19C, and then authorize the city manager to process the necessary documents on behalf of the city. I'm available if you have any funding-related questions.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Any questions of staff on the item? Any input from the public on this item? Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion and a second for approval. Motion from Councilman Flores, second from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. And the item passes unanimously. Item number 12, fiscal year 2021-22 mid-year financial review. This item is to receive and file the financial review status report and consider amendments to adopt budget appropriations, expected revenues, and consider contract amendments and purchase order increases. Our staff report will be provided by our Director of Finance, Rob Burns.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Tonight I bring before you the 2021-22 mid-year financial review. This year's financial review covers the current fiscal year through the end of February of 2022 and includes all areas of operations with an emphasis on the city's general fund. Finance staff met with each department to review and analyze both operating revenues and expenditures in order to evaluate and identify potential changes to the 21-22 adopted budget. Staff has reviewed the city's revenue sources, looking closely at sales tax, property tax, and development-related revenue. Sales tax is anticipated to be $4 million over budget for a total of $33.4 million. This increase is due to better than expected economic activity during the COVID recovery period. Property tax revenue is anticipated to be over budget by $700,000. This increase is due to continued increases in property values as well as continued new construction. Development revenue is anticipated to be just under budget by about $300,000, coming in at $11.4 million, which is still an all-time high for this revenue source. Staff has also reviewed expenditures and identified several areas that need adjustments to the adopted 21-22 budget. Many of the adjustments in the staff report are contract or PO increases only, with no additional money being requested. Some are additional appropriations, and I'll just mention a few of those here. For the general fund, staff is requesting an additional $890,000 for additional revenue sharing agreements with sales tax producers. These costs are offset by additional sales tax revenue, which I mentioned just a few minutes ago. For the Employee Benefits Fund, staff is requesting an additional $750,000 for additional anticipated employee cash outs. For the Management Equipment Fund, staff is requesting an additional $407,000 for fuel costs, given the recent increases in gasoline costs. The general fund will experience a large surplus this year, given the increases in sales tax, as well as the ARPA fund monies that are being received and recognized this fiscal year. Inflation does remain a concern, as you all know, and costs are rising each month. Staff is going to remain focused on those costs, and we'll look at that as we move into next year's budget and see that the impact of that is. So that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, any council comments or questions? Okay, Rob, what does it look like inflation is right now? Do you have any idea?
Well, yeah, it's running 7%. There was the producer price index came in yesterday at 10%. Wow. So inflation's running pretty high. So we are concerned about that. All the costs are rising. I think most staff would say that, you know, our projects that we're putting out to bid are coming in a lot higher than they would have a year ago. And so, and as you know, we looked at doing a 2-year budget, but staff was having difficulty getting good quotes from contractors for 2 years from now for the second year of the 2-year budget process, because they couldn't commit to anything because they don't know what their prices are going to be. So when you ask somebody, you know, can you give me a price 2 years from now? They'll say, heck yeah, 25% increase. But, you know, it doesn't mean anything because they don't know, but they just don't want to be trapped into some lower quote. So city staff is, you know, really dealing with that on a daily basis right now.
Well, I do think because of all of these price increases and inflation and all the craziness that's happened, I still am interested in seeing an approximate 2-year budget, even if it's, you know, under some, lights just went out somewhere. Even if it's...
Electricity costs are going up, so we shut
Well, I guess, my gosh. Geez, all of a sudden the council chambers goes dark. There goes another one.
Saving power.
Saving power? Whoa. That was weird. Anyway, I would like to see that second-year projection with some understanding that, like, even if it's a 25% escalator or something, because I think, you know, going into trying to project and looking at labor negotiations and everything else, we really need to look at what the future might be. It's scary.
Yeah. Would you like us to include a 5-year projection in the upcoming budget?
It's not a bad idea, you know, understanding that it's just projections, but I really do think these are unprecedented times, and I'm afraid if we really don't look on the dark side, so to speak, of where we could be going, we could be walking into quite a mess with our eyes closed. I think it's better to be aware of what we might be facing in the future.
Yep, we'll be happy to do that.
Okay, we need a motion and a second for adopting the changes. Motion from Councilperson Comstock, second from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Item passes unanimously. Thanks for all that good news. Item number 13, Brief Cam, Analytical Video Software and Milestone VMS Camera Licenses. This is to approve a purchase order to Safeware Incorporated, Lanham, Maryland, for a not-to-exceed amount of $168,306.98 for the purchase of Brief Cam Analytical Video Software and Milestone VMS Camera Licenses. Staff report this evening will be provided by our Transportation Manager, Dennis Rawls, and Lieutenant Dustin Tomasek.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Yeah, it is a mouthful tonight, but it's some pretty exciting stuff that we're happy to present to you tonight. Before you is a request to purchase some computer software. I'm trying to get my mouse to work here. There we go. For about 10 years now, the city has been installing traffic cameras at various intersections. We are up to a little over 250 cameras at about 50 intersections. And those cameras are installed on traffic signals and assist the engineering department with monitoring traffic and allows us to work and multiply our efforts by controlling traffic signals from a central location. And with that, we work closely with our police department, which is why I brought backup today for my presentation. And with that, the police department also has camera assets beyond those traffic monitoring cameras that they use. They have portable observation devices that they call pods. These are portable wireless devices that can be installed temporarily at locations and helps them with their efforts, as well as automated license plate readers, which are installed at 17 locations throughout the city, which help the police department and are installed in our traffic signals. Next slide, please. Oh, did I go too far? Yeah. Lieutenant and I are going to go back and forth a little bit on some of the engineering and police department uses of the camera system and the item tonight. In the Traffic Management Center here in City Hall, we have access to our traffic cameras, and we are connected to nearly all of our traffic signals throughout the city. The Traffic Management Center is operated during working hours, during special events, and when we're called in for emergencies. From that location, we're able to monitor traffic, keep an eye on congestion, construction, and modify our traffic signals to assist with detours and helping alleviate congestion as best we can. Like I said, we manage our traffic signals from there, and it helps with incident and special events, where we man the center during the July 4th festivities, for instance, when we increase signal timing throughout the area to help with the event's end and getting everyone back home safely. And I'll turn it over to the lieutenant here to talk about the police department's use.
So our real-time crime center there is pictured on the bottom. It's staffed by 2 full-time crime analysts, and it's staffed 7 days a week. The analysts assist with field personnel with information gathering, with their investigations, risk management for the field, and they work on in-progress and historical crimes to help the police department. It's strategically located between our dispatch center and our watch commander's office, so it can be helpful in incident management. And the analyst has access to all the cameras, as mentioned above. They're up to about 350 total, including our license plate readers. And with that, obviously, the camera footage, there's a lot of video available for review. And it's a tremendous resource. However, it needs to be cut down a little bit to be more manageable.
There we go. So with all of these video assets that the city has at our use, what we need is a video management system to help use all of those video cameras. Some of these cameras have the ability to pan, tilt, and zoom. I show an example at the bottom of a camera on Central Avenue near Columbia, and in how well it can zoom in to traffic north of the freeway. The image on the top left is one of the views of traffic cameras along Kimball Avenue, for instance, where we can keep an eye on an entire corridor all at once. And so with that, there's a video management system that ingests all that camera sources and puts it all in one place so that staff can easily manage those video assets. This allows us to integrate all of the video sources the camera has, helps us with monitoring traffic, controlling of those cameras. PD uses it for assistance with their investigations. And so it's a shared asset amongst multiple departments. Our IT department has integrated us pretty well, and so we are able to share this asset seamlessly between the two departments. But one of the things we recently completed was a CIP project installing some more cameras, and not all of those cameras have been licensed to be used in the video management system software. So as part of the request tonight for the purchase is an increase in the number of licensing for the video software to be able to bring all of those camera assets into that camera system. But the majority of what we're talking about tonight is now what can we do with these video cameras? Technology is improving. The ability to take video and manage it, you've heard of deep fake technology and AI and all that. Well, that's starting to come to fruition and become more commercially available. And one of the things we're looking at doing is taking those video assets and leveraging that so that not only are we able to use it as people and look at video and see an incident occurring or traffic backing up, but now we can have a software package that is actually helping us monitor that and is able to take objects moving in that video footage and now assign data to that. And what that means is a car traveling through an intersection can now be recognized as a car. It can be recognized as a white car that's traveling westbound, that's happened at a certain period of time. And then that data can now be searchable. And so what we can do now is if we're, from a traffic engineering side, if we're looking at doing traffic counts and want to know how many cars pass through an intersection, how many trucks, that has the ability to distinguish trucks from regular cars. We can now distinguish those using technology, and so now you no longer need a person staring at a video screen, reviewing video footage or looking at live video to determine whether or not there's concerns, but we can now go back and look and find out how often this is occurring. Is it the severe problem? We get complaints about trucks off route. Is it one truck a day? Is it one truck an hour? Is it one truck every cycle of the signal? With this technology now, we're able to help answer those questions and quantify that, which will then allow us to help allocate resources to where they need to be. So this is some examples of what the software is capable of. In the top left, you can see how it's identified certain objects in the video, including it can recognize the difference between a pedestrian, a bicyclist, like I mentioned, a car, a truck, if we're looking for a school bus for any reason. Also, with the analytics that this software provides, we can look for violation detection. If a vehicle is traveling the wrong way during a construction zone or makes an illegal turning movement. If we're looking for the number of bicyclists who use a particular path or want to know how many pedestrians are crossing a street, this software will help us acquire that information that we'd otherwise have to hire someone to help us do. We'd have to, from an engineering side, we'd have to hire a consultant who would go out the intersection and count cars. Now, using our video camera assets, we can simply ask the system to tell us that information, and it has that information available to us. And so it allows us to help with detection of violations. It has the ability to detect various types of vehicles, like I mentioned, trucks versus cars. It allows us to understand the volume of that traffic, the duration that object spent during the view of the camera, and which direction that object went. So we were able to ascertain how many vehicles made a left turn versus going straight versus making a right turn, which helps us with traffic signal programming. And it also helps, to some extent, calculate speeds of those objects. So if approved tonight, the use of this software, the BriefCam software, will fully integrate into our current Milestone video management software. So the BriefCam software is that AI software we were talking about that is completely cohesive with our existing management software and allows us to collect this information. It allows us to collect these traffic counts, determine whether or not we have how much trucks are off route, helps us with congestion, so we can not only, although we may see congestion at an intersection, what this software will allow us to do is help us determine when that congestion starts, how long does it take, when does it dissipate, how long are people waiting at a traffic signal. All that information can be ascertained now using this technology. For me on the engineering side, performing traffic safety analysis at an intersection. Later on this year, I'll be bringing back our local roadway safety plan. Part of that is identifying locations in the city where we have a high number of traffic collisions. some that can be contributed to a certain pattern of behavior. So using the software, we can help analyze that behavior and help us understand what might be causing that. So now we can have tools and understand what the solutions might be so that we can help prevent those from occurring in the future. It also helps us with performing our warrant analysis for stop signs and traffic signals, crossing guard warrants, whether or not an additional crosswalk is necessary. It'll help us in detecting incidents, wrong-way drivers, illegal turning movements, stuff like that, to help us understand, do we need more signage to help the public understand, what they should be and should not be doing on the street to keep them safe, and assist us with managing construction. Although we've gone through a lot of construction so far, there's still a lot more construction to do in Chino, and so this tool will help us in making sure that we are keeping the public moving as efficiently as we can and reducing their delays, and assist us with managing traffic at special events. And I'll again turn it over to the lieutenant for the police side.
So from the police department side, our goals are very similar to from transportation's. Obviously, to get traffic moving, to get people's quality of life a little bit better, and to make sure their travels are safe. Some of the things that it'll do for us are the same as Dennis mentioned, the being able to filter a vehicle by a type of vehicle, a color, a sedan, a pickup truck, or a commercial truck. It helps us narrow down traffic enforcement for big rigs, commercial enforcement. As Dennis mentioned, we get concerns coming into our traffic division, and it could be 1 truck a day or a truck an hour or 10 trucks an hour. And we're just as concerned with the 1 as we are with the 10, but we need to know during what time it's happening so we can address it. Obviously, to go back and watch 24 hours of video takes 24 hours to watch. But if we could streamline it using the filters to look for commercial trucks, we can narrow it down to minutes instead of hours, and then we could use our resources properly, put them out during those times so we can stop those trucks from violating. It also works with speed analysis and street racers and some of the other issues that we have going on, that we can allocate the resources at the proper hour. Because as you guys know, we work and we put traffic officers in certain areas during certain times, but that doesn't guarantee that those are the times that the violations are occurring. So by using this software, it's going to help us pinpoint those times and be able to better address those issues. And it works again for illegal turns, like Dennis mentioned. It helps for speeding, for commercial enforcement. It also helps on the follow-up on the investigations that come behind it. For instance, like a hit-and-run investigation. If we have a hit-and-run investigation and we don't have a license plate, or all we have is a basic description of a vehicle, we can go back. Chances are those people entered the city at some point earlier in the day or earlier in the evening, and we can track back looking for that specific vehicle during hours instead of minutes, find that vehicle, maybe pass through a license plate reader earlier in the evening or earlier in the day, and we can sometimes identify that potential suspect off of that license plate. So it's going to help in a wide variety of different things. Also works in criminal investigations on the other side as well. So the investigative review and analysis is very widespread. We're going to use it heavily for traffic, but it can also be used in other areas as well.
So with the funding, as I mentioned earlier this year, the Public Works Department completed 2 CIP projects, TR 162 and TR 182, which were our CCTV projects phases 1 and 2. The 2 projects combined installed cameras at about 25 additional locations, but there was budget that Public Works had set aside in those 2 projects to purchase software. The department had originally planned to purchase a video management system that would allow us to centrally manage our video cameras. But as we were working closer and closer with our police department, we realized that they already had a system that did the exact same thing, and there was no sense in purchasing 2 systems that IT would have to manage and work with them on theirs and us on ours, and they're looking at the same cameras anyway. So rather than have 2 different software packages, what we opted to do instead is just collaborate with the police department and combine those efforts into one system. And using now the leftover budget, what we'd like to do instead is increase the licensing for that software and add on to it the BriefCam software, which will allow us to provide that analytical data behind the video and allow us to do more things and be better at our jobs to do this. The purchase of this software will be through a non-competitive procurement agreement. There are other agencies that have this as well, and they've already gone through recruitment or the RFP process to find the lowest possible price. and we were able to piggyback off of that contract. Our purchasing department has reviewed it and has found it to be acceptable. And so with that, staff recommends that the City Council approve the purchase of the additional camera licensing from Milestone, purchase of the BriefCam software, and through the cooperative purchasing agreement in the amount of $168,306.98, authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents on the city's behalf. And Lieutenant and I are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good presentation. Comments from council or questions? Karen?
Go to Walt first. Walt has some.
Well,
Thank you. With this software program, is there any work to be done outside on the cameras, or is it all done in-house in the building, in the building?
All of the upfront work will all be integrated into the computer systems that are inside the police station and City Hall. So actually, we'll rely heavily on our IT department to help us with that. But yeah, everything out in the field doesn't change.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Mayor. Dennis, thank you for that presentation. Dustin, thank you as well. I appreciate it. I'm a big proponent of this technology, and I have been for quite some time. What's happening with the advent of cameras and some of the things we have in the city is it is very difficult and challenging when you obtain this type of video, and you need to go back and look at it from just an evidentiary perspective or trying to gain additional leads to something that you're working. And there's actually some very relevant studies done about the human eye sitting just in front of a TV watching just hours of video camera, and that through human error, through no intention, will often miss what you're actually looking for in that. So for people like me who are trying to make very complex things like these gentlemen did tonight sound very simple, this is essentially a search option for all your video evidence. And you heard these gentlemen talk tonight about the cameras that we have and how much video evidence that we're collecting now. And it's going to essentially categorize it so we can search it and look for it more quickly. And why that's beneficial to us, not just from a case where we're conducting follow-up where there's no exigency, but Lord forbid where we have an incident where somebody or a person or a young child is abducted, or more of a critical incident where we have one of our first responders injured, we'll now be able to take those hours of videos, categorize them, and hopefully get information that's going to help us help someone more quickly, because during an exigent circumstance, those minutes count because it can save lives. That being said, I know one of the things that is always a concern to the public when you look at implementing this type of technology is certainly privacy. So gentlemen, can you touch on reassuring the public how we use this information through proper policy and how this would be used, because that's always, even my own family, is big brother and privacy. Would you please just touch on that for the public's sake so they can be assured of how this technology is going to be used in the future?
Sure. For all our technology, we have policies, and we abide by the policy, obviously. To be able to go back for the license plate readers, for instance, we're looking for a specific vehicle involved in a specific crime. So we wouldn't go back and run somebody's information or look for a certain vehicle that's not involved in our investigation. So it's very specific on the data that we collect, how we use it, and if we look at something, we determine it's not relevant to our investigation, we move on to the next one. So. And that's all in our policy. We have technology policies in effect for the license plate readers, for video management, and all those things.
Thank you, Dustin. So it's generally speaking, with cause, with the reason, or sometimes there has to be cause for that to be accessed, correct?
Yes.
And reason. Okay, yeah, it's a great presentation. And Dennis, thank you. As we continue to do construction and improve roads, which is coming our way, it's all over the city. It's at moments frustrating, but it's going to be great. These technologies are going to help us move traffic and people and pedestrians, bicyclists through the city more efficiently and more safely, and that's our future. And it's exciting to see us bringing some of these technologies on to help us move forward and move our traffic and keep people safe. So thank you.
I do have a question, and you did not mention that we're adding new cameras. So is there any way that we can use the technology to help us with the, I want to say trend right now of these kids that get together and spin cars? And I know we're having that on a problem on a couple of our streets that are in the industrial area and not well-traveled at night.
That's definitely a possibility. And one of the capabilities of the software is alerts. So we could put it in a specific area to monitor that area. Basically, as Dennis mentioned before, we have 30 pod cameras, which are mobile. So if we find there might be an area where this is occurring, we get track marks in the intersection, something like that, we could put these cameras up and we could put them on an alert to notify us when there's a large gathering or high speeds in the area. And then we could send our resources to that area to address the concerns. And a lot of times these are happening in the commercial areas where there's not a lot of people out, not a lot of people are calling us on it, so it can alert us before we ever get a call on it.
Well, I sure would feel a lot better if we put a couple of those cameras around, because I've seen the marks on the asphalt now, and I know it's starting to happen in our community.
We're definitely looking for it.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments?
I have both. I have one question and some comments. How long is the information going to be stored?
So our license plate readers are currently stored for 30 days. That's the common practice.
And this, as far as being able to track traffic patterns and trends, how long will that be stored?
You want to touch on?
So I believe we have the same 30-day capability of going back and looking at recorded video. I know we're curious about how expensive it is to extend that, because a lot of times from a traffic perspective, we're not really necessarily looking at what happened last month. We're more looking at, longer term issues with traffic patterns. So we're looking at extending that recording time for instance with future projects and future budget.
Along those lines, is there a way, because we're particularly concerned obviously with truck traffic like down in the preserve and stuff, is there a way that you can pull data off of 30-day segments and store the data, maybe not all the video, but the analytics that come from it, so that you can compare month by month what's happening?
So it has that capability, and it'll run for a 30-day period. We can go through daily, weekly, hourly, however we want, and we can save an amount of data. It'll also create a report based on the area that we're monitoring, and then basically it would restart again after that expires 30 days. But you can store that on a hard drive or a thumb drive, something like that.
I think that would come really in handy, especially as we're trying to move truck through and monitoring truck routes, and with all the development that's happening now in Ontario with the big warehouses that they're building and the added truck traffic, and of course they're taking over part of Euclid and doing a lot of construction there. I think it would be really interesting to start, making decisions on what data to keep and start doing some comparison to see how we're doing.
So the system, the video is saved currently in the Milestone software, and then we can go through if we determine something's useful to us, and we can save it personally on like a hard drive, and obviously indefinitely at that point.
Okay, all right.
So, and to continue on with my comments, one, I really like this software. It's always been one or the other, but you're actually getting both. You're getting the ability to monitor traffic patterns, but at the same time, you're getting the capability of following up with investigations, which has always been important as well. I like the fact that they both can come together. I think we have a total of, if I added correctly, I may be wrong, I'm not a mathematician, but something like 391 potential cameras that we can utilize throughout the city, some being portable. So like the mayor was saying, if we get some complaints that in certain areas we have trucks that are coming through, you guys can obviously move those in there, and we can see if there is truly a pattern of vehicles going through there that are not supposed to be there. But I'm definitely excited with this technology. I like it because if you're a crook and you know that this type of technology exists in the city, they tend to try to stay away from the city. So in that sense, with crime rising throughout California, I hope that this is something that deters crime from coming here into Chino, but I appreciate you guys going out there, researching this information, getting the software, and I really like to see this implemented in the city.
Okay, with that, then we need a motion and a second to approve.
May I ask a question, Mayor?
Chris, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. First of all, thank you for the presentation. As I'm listening to this, I hear that a lot of this is heavily, leaned on like traffic-related issues, right? But in the situation where we had some residents who came up earlier who had just issues about feces, being found in alleyways. Does this software, is it capable of tracking a single person if we're looking for a single person, right? Because you had mentioned if we're looking for a blue car, a blue car with I don't know, tinted windows, maybe license plate starts with, XYZ or something like that. The software is supposed to hopefully track that down, as soon as possible. But can it also provide that same function when we're looking for, a specific individual?
It can, and you can specify the amount of time you want to look for a pedestrian. It recognizes a pedestrian, and if you know what that person's wearing, you can actually narrow it down to color of the clothing and type of clothing, if they're carrying a backpack, and there's a lot of other things that it does on the criminal side that we didn't talk about. People with an object in their hand, which could be useful at maybe a freedom festival or things like that. So you can go back, and those possibilities are endless. You can look for a period of time. You can determine how many people walk down the street during a specific amount of time. As long as there's a camera there and it's hooked to our video management system, we can review it and pull the information from it.
Wow, that's great.
I guess with that, I'll make a motion.
Okay, use your monitor.
Oh, there it is. Oh, too late.
Oh, she beat you to it.
Yeah.
Motion from Councilperson Comstock, second from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Item passes unanimously. Okay, next on the agenda is Mayor and Council reports. First of all, I would like to say, with sadness, today, Mark Hargrove would have been 58 years old. And we lost him, as you know, last year. We miss him dearly. Walt, thank you for sitting in for him, but we do miss him.
Big shoes to fill here.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Okay, my activity for the last 2 weeks. On the 2nd, I attended the Omnitrans and San Bernardino County Transportation Authority Board of Director meeting. On the 3rd, the Water Facilities Authority Technical Advisory Committee, the Chino de Saltra Authority Board of Directors, and the Inland Empire Utilities Agency's Sewerage Policy Committee. On the 4th, I attended the senior birthdays. On the 5th, the Chino Youth Museum Derriere 5K run and the National Little League Opening Day. On the 7th, a neighbor of ours who had been active in our city for a long time, I attended his funeral, Mr. Ray Reyes. He used to own one of our towing companies. On the 10th, the Water Facilities Agency Finance Committee, the Appropriative Pool Confidential Section, Metro Valley Committee, and we had a special meeting here, confidential meeting dealing with our city manager replacement. We also formed an ad hoc committee for to review and help with guidance on selecting a new city manager. On the 12th, I attended the Arbor Day event. We spoke about that. On the 13th, I attended Monique Bettereche's viewing and rosary, and then yesterday, her funeral. People were here from France for her funeral, and they had a very special drum corps and bugle corps that played at the funeral. What a tribute to a wonderful woman that had relocated here many, many years ago. Our neighbor, Mike Bedart, had known her family ever since he was a young man, and he kind of gave a synopsis of how she came here and where they lived, and how they raised their kids, and what a great woman Monique was. She grew up as an only child in France, and her mom actually did a lot of catering and cooking, and that's where she learned the trade. And of course, then they eventually were able to buy and open Central Basco, which the Basque community and many other people in this community have become very fond of. It's a favorite place to eat. It was quite a tribute to a wonderful woman, but she was no pushover at all. She was feisty, and if you crossed her, she had no hesitancy to tell you off, tell you where you could go. She was quite a lady, but very, very well respected, loved, and that was very evident by all the people that were there yesterday. It was incredible. And then yesterday afternoon, our ad hoc committee, which comprised of me and Mayor Pro Tem Lucio, met with our consultants to talk about the procedures that we're going to undertake to replace an irreplaceable city manager, which we're going to lose in April. And that's all I have to report this evening.
Okay, on March 3rd, I attended a meeting with Mr. Freitas. He's a realtor regarding a zoning violation that was occurring on Edison. It was a piece of property that was initially zoned for horses, but was sold and was rezoned during the time that the original owner had owned the property. But we're working with the resident to try to provide some documentation in order to justify keeping it as a horse ranch. On the 4th, I met with Lisa and Joe Fraga from the preserve. On the 5th, I attended the Derriere run there at Ayala Park. It was a good showing. I want to also point out that the fact that the person sitting next to me did win his category in the race, and it came out in the Chino champion, but he never said anything, but I read it, so therefore I want to acknowledge the fact that his running is definitely getting better than it was when he first ran about a year ago. On the 5th, I also attended the opening day ceremony for Chino National Little League. On the 7th, I attended an Infrastructure Streets Committee meeting where they discussed the construction that's going on at Ayala Park. On the 7th, I also attended a meeting with Sonia Shaw regarding her campaign for Chino School Board. On the 7th, I also attended a meeting with the city manager. Again, on the 7th, I met with our consultants, Wayne and Stacy, regarding the city manager position. And later that afternoon, I met with Aaron O'Leary from Lewis Homes regarding some things that are going down on the preserve. On the 8th, I met with Aaron Kelleher from the Chino POA. And on the 10th, I had a special meeting regarding I think we all did, regarding the city manager's position. On the 10th, I attended the preserve's office hours. It was just a great turnout because of the In-N-Out truck that was out there. A lot of residents came out for it. It was good to see everybody out there. But it was nice to see that that In-N-Out's really making an effort to be a partnership with the community. So it was nice to see them out there. Lewis was also out there regarding the commercial area that they're developing down there. So they really haven't discussed any more people that are renting out some of those spaces other than the supermarket, Stater Brothers. On the 14th, I attended a meeting with the city manager. Later on that morning, I attended a meeting with the representatives of Sitka and Majestic Realty regarding their request, or they would like to expand. We gave them the direction they're going to have to do some community outreach to see what the community feels about that, because what they want to do is they want to take over some commercial land and expand their warehouse. But they look like they want to meet with the community and potentially attend some of the office hours to have some discussion. They are a good company. They do provide sales tax revenue, which a lot of companies do not do that are industrial here, but they do provide quite a bit of money for the city. So they are a good company. On the 14th, I met with the mayor regarding the subcommittee for the city manager. And also, I'd like to close this out by recognizing my son Lucas will be 2 years old, so I just want to acknowledge his birthday. But at the same time, I also I want to wish my condolences to the Hargrove family for the loss of Mark and recognize that it is Mark's birthday today. Like the mayor said, he would have been 58 years old. This would have been coming to the end of his first term, and he's definitely missed, and he was a great man. And with that, I want to close my comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Wednesday, March 2nd, I attended the welcome and swearing-in ceremony at the Chino Police Department. That was really well attended, and it's always nice to go home and see the promotees and all the new hires. I must admit, it's a little awkward walking into the PD now and not knowing about a third of the patrol staff that's there because of all the hiring that's happening, but it's also exciting that the department is continuing to grow. And to see the promotees there here tonight was very nice. On Saturday, March 5th, I attended the Derriere 5K run at Ayala Park. It was well attended, and all the proceeds there go to the Youth Museum that's had sort of a challenging time during the pandemic, so it was nice to see a good turnout for a good cause, to the Youth Museum, and congratulations to Chris. I think he was the only member of the council at this race that actually ran it. It's not saying much for the rest of us, but that's okay. Also on, I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Also on the same day, I attended the Chino National Little League opening ceremonies at Heritage Park. It was a great day. A lot of parents and coaches that support that youth program there. I'm a product of Chino Youth Sports, and the mentoring, as you saw tonight with the coach with the wrestlers, that provides to our kids is phenomenal. And I want to thank all the coaches and volunteers that actually power Chino National as well as Chino American. And the kids are just so cute in their uniforms, so that was fun to see them out there on that day. On the 7th, I also attended the infrastructure meeting here at City Hall with the Mayor Pro Tem and city staff regarding the ongoing construction at Ayala Park. And then on Monday, March 14th, I attended another infrastructure meeting with the Mayor Pro Tem as well as city staff that the Mayor Pro Tem has already covered with Majestic Realty as well as SICA. I think the Mayor Pro Tem has done a good job of covering the details of that, which we asked it to go down and do some community outreach. But it would be a nice project, but not without the support from some of our community members and our residents down there. Later that morning, I attended the memorial service for Monique and Mayor, how do you pronounce her last name?
Derriere.
Derriere. I agree with you, Mayor. Not only was it just a beautiful ceremony and well-attended, but Mike Bedard did a great job kind of talking about where Monique grew up. And one of the things that he said there that day that was just resonated with me is that everyone there was like an extended family member of their restaurant, and just a great tribute to a great woman. I have a lot of memories, not so much of Tony, but of Monique in the restaurant. You know, she had some favorite sayings that people went to, like holding court and different things. And Monique did drive a hard bargain, and she's going to be missed. But boy, did those Basque gentlemen, could they sing a cappella or what? It was really neat to see and to listen to a lot of the services actually being spoken in her native tongue. I also attended the meeting, the closed session meeting, the week of the 10th regarding the acting city manager appointment. And then today at 4 p.m., I attended the workshop here at the council regarding the city's water master plan and street sweeping proposal. Matt, I want to say we're going to miss you here at the city. Our loss here in the city of Chino is going to certainly be Fontana's gain. You've done a great job in the past 10 years here, and it's going to be strange to come to council meetings without you being here. But I know this is a great move for your family and your sons, and I know you're going to be a great community member here moving forward. We'll see you. We'll see you at different community events. I'm certain. As well as just my condolences as well to the Hargrove family. Mark would have been 58 years young today, but something phenomenal that did happen here tonight was just by coincidence, David Hargrove, who was promoted here tonight, is actually Mark's nephew. So how nice to actually have Mark's nephew here, on the same day that Terry and his family is celebrating, the absence of his presence here with us. But we know where Mark is at. And we know that most of us who believe we'll see him again. So, Mark, we miss you, and to the entire Hargrove family, we're praying for you. So thank you, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Councilmember Flores.
Hi, good evening. I just want to say thank you to the residents who came out today. I wrote their names down. Carolyn, Judy, Dr. Dean Kerr, and Rhonda for coming out and just speaking about just the issues that they have with their own private residence on 7th Street. I also want to say thank you to Barry Schwartz. Barry Schwartz came out earlier today, and he had he raised some concerns regarding our street sweeping. So again, just thank you to him. On the 2nd of March, I attended the Chino Police Department welcome and swearing-in ceremony. On the 5th of March, I attended the Chino Youth Museum Derriere 5K, and if you haven't heard, I'm just kidding. Doesn't matter. And that same day, I also attended the Chino National Little League opening ceremony. On the 7th of March, I met with Dr. Wayne and Stacy regarding the city manager position. And that day, I just happened to, I was, had a, I guess, a chaperone a friend and take a friend, Father Mike Maher up north. And I was, as a result, I was unable to attend, I guess, the ceremony or the celebration of life of Ray Reyes. But I just want to give my condolences to Mr. Reyes and his family. On the 9th of March, I attended the ribbon cutting for Coastal Vision Medical Group. There was a pretty grand opening. I gotta say, if you need some laser eye surgery or something like that, it's a beautiful facility they have there, and I would encourage you guys to go visit. On the 10th of March, I attended the Economic Development Committee meeting, and that same day, I also had a special city council meeting regarding the appointment of, I guess, a temporary city manager. And that same day, I also had a cool opportunity. Thank you to our police department for kind of showing me around. But I got a helicopter ride that day, so thank you to Ontario PD for providing that ride. But I had a chance to fly over the city of Chino, and I thought it was pretty sweet. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about just the helicopter rides and aerial support. It was pretty awesome. On the 12th of March, I attended the Arbor Day event. I had an opportunity to plant one tree out of 61, so that was pretty cool. I planted an Indian rosewood, if I remember correctly, but I'm not even going to get into that. One common thing maybe you guys kind of see from up there, but behind the scenes, sometimes there's still hazing going on. So I want to talk about a little hazing experiment that happened on the 12th of March. I was invited by my good friend, Mayor Pro Tem Mark Lucio, that day I attended the Chino American opening day ceremony, and early in the morning I got a call. Hey Chris, I think you've been promoted. You have a chance to throw out the first pitch and say the speech on behalf of the council. And I said, awesome. Matter of fact, I called my dad and I said, hey Dad, can we start playing catch? Can you help me get ready? I gotta throw out the first pitch. And my dad came over, traveled 30 minutes across the city, and he started playing catch with me. And I show up, and I guess they chose somebody else to fill in that role. So I was kind of disappointed. But I will say who they chose was Coach Mike from the Chino High School, and I think he had to take over the show. I mean, the program that they're running over there. If you guys don't know, baseball is my passion. I was just glad to see him throw out the first pitch and be able to talk to the little leaguers and some of the high schoolers who were out there. Let's see, on the 14th, I attended the Cultural Foundation meeting, and it was a great meeting. I'm just happy to hear what some potential future partnerships between the Cultural Foundation and the City of Chino. Earlier today, I met with Yolanda Holguin of the Boxing Foundation, and we talked about a possible, I think I've mentioned it before, but a possible, again, to raise money, a possible event to have a city council member box somebody from the city or another council member. I recommended, just so you guys know, I said, Holguin, I think if you really want to raise some funds, maybe there should be a council member Flores versus City Manager Matt Valentine.
Oh my gosh.
I thought that'd be a great turnout. I think everybody here would attend. But I said, Ms. Holguin, I'm just kidding. That's not safe. But other than that, I want to say, if you guys haven't noticed already, we do have a new website that launched about a week and a half ago. Go check that out. I think it's a complete upgrade from our previous website. And, when it comes to using or navigating the website through your phone, I think it's very user-friendly. So if you have an opportunity, check that out. And last but not least, I just want to give my condolences and wish a happy birthday to Mr. Mark Hargrove and the Hargrove family as well. But with that concludes my comments.
Now, Chris, I threw out the first pitch at the National Little League, and I didn't practice ahead of time.
Oh, man.
And you did a great job.
Maybe they thought he wasn't going to make it.
Maybe, and I made it to the catcher.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, my goodness. Councilmember Pocock, you also have item number 14.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Well, on the 2nd, I attended the welcoming
Sweet.
and
Hey, well, can you handle 14 quick? First? Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be happy to. I would like to for the council to approve a community support fund contribution in the amount of $350 each to Chino American Little League and Chino National Little League. Because they're a great training ground for our young boys and girls, and I like to see them, I like to help them out.
Okay, there's a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio and second from Mayor Ulloa. Everyone, please vote. Item passes unanimously. Your wishes are granted. Now,
Thank you.
your report, please.
Okay, I'll start over. Uh-oh. Wait a minute, I broke my book. Okay, on the second, the welcoming and promotion ceremony at the Chino Police Department. And brought in a lot of new staff and promoted a lot of staff. That was pretty nice to see. And then on the 5th, I attended the Derriere for a short minute. I didn't get to run because they'd already started by the time I got there. Otherwise, I'd probably still be running. And then on the 5th, attended the National League opening ceremony, and which I thought it was really cool. The mayor threw out the first pitch. I got to see my grandson coaching a team and my great-grandson playing on the team. And on the 7th, met with Wayne and Stacy regarding city manager position. And on the 9th, Chino Fire Board, I attended Chino Fire Board, sitting in for Councilman Mark Lucio. And on the 10th, I attended the Economic Development Committee meeting with Commissioner Flores regarding probably a business deal with Chino Community Foundation. Then on the 10th later, I attended a special council meeting regarding the appointment of the acting city manager. On the 14th, I attended Monique Derriere funeral, which was very well attended. I've never seen so many people in that building before. It was very well attended. On the 14th, Chino Cultural Foundation and city manager. Oops, I got those mixed up. And I want to say about Mark Hargrove, I'm really humbled to be able to sit here and fill in his chair. He was a great councilman, a great speaker. He had a good heart. He loved the Lord, he loved his family, and he loved his city. And he was taken way too soon. Thank you.
You're welcome. City Manager Ballantyne.
Yeah. First of all, I'm not done. I still have one more council meeting. But I want to thank the council, especially helping me through this transition. I also want to thank the support that the community has provided me. So much so, you know, I've raised my family here and I'll continue to do so. I don't want my family to leave this area. I also want to thank the support of my staff. These three groups have accomplished a lot. And those accomplishments has caused the city of Fontana to come after me, and they want to recreate what we've done here. So I blame you all for making me look so successful, but this is a great opportunity. I know that this community is in good hands with this council and this staff, and I can be at peace and sleep well at night knowing that. But I just want to be clear, I'm not done. We have a race to finish. I'll be here through April 18th, and I'll save my comments then. But I want to thank everybody for what you've done for me and my family. That's it.
City Attorney Galante.
Thank you. No legal report tonight. Thank you.
Chief Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. Just had a couple of things I wanted to share with the council and our community. This past weekend, we did a DUI checkpoint. We received a STEP grant to do that, and this was in the 11900 block of Central Avenue. We made 4 arrests for drunk driving and issued another 9 citations for drivers who were driving on a suspended license. In today's day and age, with Uber and Lyft, you do not need to drive when you've been drinking. I just encourage our community not to do that. we advertise these events when we're going to do them, but yet we still caught 4 people driving while under the influence. And then lastly, I wanted to share that our department employees, with the help of the community, through our Pink Patch Project and our Pink T-shirt project we did last October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, raised over $11,500. We presented that check today to Loma Linda Cancer Care Center, 4 times what we had raised the year before, so very proud of the job everybody did helping us reach that goal. That's all I have to report, unless you have any questions for me today.
Any questions of Wes or comments? Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Chief Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And I did have one little comment for Council Member Flores. So, as you know, the fire service is steep in tradition, and since you've done a ride-along with us, we consider you one of our own. And in the fire service, when you make the newspaper, you buy your crew members ice cream. So I might make the suggestion that you owe the rest of the council some ice cream, just a suggestion.
Wow. Poor Chris.
Under
And the hazing continues.
Hazing continues.
Under current affairs, for the month of February, the Chino Valley Fire District responded to 100 medical incidents and transported 44 to the hospital. And since July 3rd, since we've been running our own ambulances, we've responded to just under 5,000 medical aids and transported just over 2,000 to the hospital. Just 2 days ago, or yesterday rather, the fire district sent units up to the Heritage incident in the San Bernardino National Forest. All of our units have returned safely, and that fire is now being kept under control. Under recruitment, we are very fortunate tonight that you saw the 6 new members. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a position where we need 8 more positions filled, so we've started the recruitment process again, and I'm really, really happy to report that we do have 101 recruit laterals that are interested in coming over here from other organizations. Never happened before. We're talking agencies such as LA County, LA City, some very, very large organizations. So I think it's a testament to our to the district and to the city here that continue to attract quality individuals to come and work in our community. Also happy to report that I have started the background process for both our finance and our HR director positions, and we're going to have some really quality individuals to help us continue to move the organization forward, and I'll be really happy to bring them by and introduce them at some point.
Please do.
And under upcoming events, we have the Salute to Public Safety at the Los Serranos Country Club on March 23rd for those interested, and the Fire Chief's swearing-in ceremony will be taking place March 24th at 3 p.m. at Station 1. And as always, law enforcement always typically one-ups us. We did have our fundraising event for St. Patty's Day. Our personnel did get about $10,000, and all that money goes back into the community. So again, not quite what law enforcement did, but we're always on their coattails. So that's all the comments I have tonight.
Great. Thank you very much, Dave. Okay, now we are not going to adjourn. We're going to recess and go back into closed session to finish our items. But when we do adjourn, we will be adjourning in the memory of Tom Thomas, Councilman Thomas, or he used to be a councilman from Upland. So with that, we are recessing back into closed session.